Hey guys, Mr. Place coming to you live with another demo, this time on After Effects. So this is basically our first time we're going to use After Effects, so I'm going to take you through a slow tutorial right here and show you the power of After Effects. So here we go. Before we start our After Effects project, let's go head on over to Video Production Alias, because I have a couple files I'm going to give to you guys. Of course, that's in the Handout folder. So, Handout folder. VP20s, After Effects. So 3 After Effects. What we want to do is we want to copy Moon Across the Sky. So we're going to copy Moon Across the Sky, and we'll close down the server and we'll go to our master folder on our desktop. And what we want to do is paste that in 3 After Effects. Right click, paste. Okay. So there's our Moon Across the Sky. Inside that, we have a few things in here. Let me get rid of this. And you have a transparent PNG, a moon that is a JPEG. You have a background. Let's have a look at this. And so basically what we're going to do is animate the moon across the sky and make a nice little production company. I do have the Moon Across the Sky instructions, and that's in PowerPoint. So it takes you through all the different procedures you'll have to do this project. And if you prefer to not read like a recipe and you want to just follow along my tutorial, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so now that we've prepped everything, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and open After Effects. Now After Effects is a program from the Adobe suite, the CC Creative Cloud, and it's fantastic. It's used in the industry every day, in the video production industry. We see it a lot in our films and our movies that we watch. And it basically does some animation, special effects. So you'll probably fall in love with this program. It's fantastic. It's a little daunting at first to use. The learning curve's a little steep, but once you figure out how to plug in some information in After Effects, you're well on your way to making some really, really cool some compositions. So here we go. What's going to happen is the welcome screen should pop open, and that's sometimes handy because then what we can do on this screen right here is we can select, if we've already been working on a project, we can click on that. It will open up that the last project that we're working on, okay? And it'll give you a list of 10 projects here, so you can click on those. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go ahead and close this. So this red right here, the welcome, and I'm just going to click on a new composition. So this is your settings for your composition. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and have a look here. Your preset should be HDTV 1080 29.97 frames. So that's the standard frame rate in North America. And the important thing is that it's 1920 by 1080. Okay, that's the magic number in this class. And you know that it will be 1920 by 1080 just if you select this preset HDTV 1080. We want square pixels, and we want to look all the way down here. This is very important, and this is called duration. So this is the time duration of your composition. So we can use this left column right here, and this first digit right here, the 0, is hours. The next set is minutes, then seconds, and then frames. So I've got my comp set to 20 seconds. So I'd like you to go ahead and plug in 20 in here. So you just click on it, type in 20, make sure that it's correct. Our background color can be changed, but by default it's black. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. So here's your preview window. You've got your timeline measured from 0 seconds all the way to 20. So here's 1920. So that's our timeline. And if we look up here, project right here, we can bring in things to the bin. We can bring in some items to the bin. And what the bin is just where you're going to store your files before you add them to your composition. So sometimes you add things to the bin that you do put in your composition, and sometimes you add things to the bin and you just don't use them. It's kind of like an artist putting out a whole bunch of tools on the table before they create their masterpiece. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in that picture of the stars and the mountain, and there's a couple ways of doing that. I could go File, Import, and I could go multiple files, but what I like doing is I like double clicking right here. When you do that, it prompts. Okay, I'm going to go to desktop, your master folder, After Effects, Moon Across the Sky. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the star sky. We're going to bring in the moon JPEG. So I'm going to hit Shift. We're going to hit the PNG. That's the moon. And that's basically it. Those three things we're going to bring in. So when I open them, they don't appear in my comp yet, but they are sitting right here ready to be used. So obviously, this first one that we're going to bring in is going to be the star field and the mountain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag this over. I could drag it down here, or I could drop it on here. And the reason I like dropping it right on the preview window is I like to see the resolution. And just by dropping on here, I know that this is 1920 by 1080. Okay, so we got 1920 across 1080, and it fits perfect to the pixel, which is fantastic. Okay, so in After Effects, there's a couple of things that we could use, and one is our transport, but what I'm going to use is my spacebar. So also make sure you go ahead and click Standard over here. Okay, so we were working in the same mode. Okay, so Standard. Should have told you that at the beginning, but it doesn't make a difference right now. So basically, when we hit our spacebar, watch what happens to our scrubber. It's going to go along 1 second, 2 seconds. So basically, nothing's happened. It's a static picture. Let's bring this back home. And let's bring in the moon. Let's bring in the transparent moon. Okay, it's excellent. It's a little smaller, so I'm going to hit S on the keyboard for scale. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. I'm still going to make it pretty big and pronounced. Okay, so now what do you think is going to happen when I hit spacebar? Nothing. Okay, so this project is called Moon Across the Sky, yet the moon is not going across the sky. So what we have to do here is I'm going to make this moon very big. This is my start point. I'm going to move it off the screen right here. Okay, so right now, if you look, this starts at 0. So at 0 seconds, this moon is going to be here. Let's go ahead and drop this transport down. So there's a little arrow right here on moon. And what we're going to do is we're going to click it. When we do, it may just say transform. If it does, bring down the transform like this. So you can see opacity, rotation, scale, position, and anchor point. So we can change a whole bunch of properties of this moon right here, but the one we're concerned with is position. Okay, so at 0 seconds, it's going to start here. We want it to go across the sky. So here's the entire key of doing this. Is on position, or right beside position, there's a stopwatch. It's called the time vary stopwatch. And this toggles the ability to make a change and animate your position. So we're going to start here at 0. By 6 seconds, that's right here, this moon is going to be right here. Let's put it right in the middle. Okay. And by 12 seconds, this moon is going to be here. So if you look, we've got these keyframes that are right here. 1, 2, and 3. Those are the changes we made. Let's go back to 0, and now let's hit the spacebar. Okay, so that basically will show the path, and I think it's moving too slow for my production company. So I did this on purpose. I said 6 seconds. These are actually editable. So I'm going to move this first one. I'm going to click on it. It now has focus. It's blue. I'm going to make this 4 seconds. And then this one right here is going to be 8 seconds. So mathematically, that'll work out. It'll be nice and smooth. Let's have a look. Okay, and you're going to notice it's a little choppy the first time that you hit spacebar, depending on your RAM on your computer, if it's full. But let's try it again. It's green right now. When this bar right here is green, it means that it's been rendered, and it should be nice and smooth now. Look at that. Okay, so that's basically how we animate. And now what we want to do is we want to go right about here. We want the text Moon Across the Sky to show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the horizontal type tool right here, and I just click on it. Okay, so now, just like in Photoshop, I can click here and I can say moon across the sky productions. Okay, I can use my move tool right here. I'm going to put this right in the middle right here, a little higher. Don't put it in the middle. Bring it up, rule of thirds, about approximately here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. If you want to change any of the text size, you can do that too. You can actually use the transform controls to make them bigger or smaller, but you're going to distort the text. And if you start adding other text in there, it's not going to match. So over here, what you can do is you can make the text bigger this way or smaller this way. Okay, and that's a slider again. And I like it about that big. Actually, I'm going to make it about 160. Okay. The next thing that I might want to do is, it looks pretty good here, but what I might want to do is I might want to go up to the top here and add a drop shadow. So let's click on here and go to effects. Your effects are going to show up right here, and what we want to do is we want to drop down perspective. Like in Photoshop, we're going to add a drop shadow to give it a little bit of contrast. So let's grab this drop shadow and just drop it right here on the text. Okay, so I noticed that there was a little drop shadow put in there, but if you want more pronounced drop shadow, you're going to go up to your effect controls right here, and you can change the angle, the direction. You can change the distance. So now you can see, if you really look, you can see that drop shadow behind there. The softness, you can make it diffused a little bit, or you can make it very harsh if you bring it down to 0. Okay, so let's have a look at the shadow only. That's what the drop shadow behind there is, and I like that. I'm just going to leave that. Okay, so here's what my comp looks like. Bring this back to 0. But hey, Mr. Place, you said you wanted the moon across the sky productions to start when the moon left the sky. Okay, so I am going to do that. So I'm going to look at, let's close this moon here. This is the text right here. Text on top. Okay, so what I'm going to do is make sure that this is selected. I'm going to grab this here and I'm going to trim it. So I'm going to grab this in the front and I'm going to pull it to approximately there. Now if you look here, look at that. Okay, so basically it will not start till boom, there. Again, I don't want it to come in so abrupt. I want it to kind of fade in like a transition. So I'm going to drop the moon down here. I'm going to go to transform. Okay, and I'm going to change the properties of opacity. Okay, so 100% opacity, you can't see through it. 0 is it's invisible, and about what, 50%, it's kind of ghost-like. Okay, so that's what opacity is, right? So I'm going to bring this all the way down to 0. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the opacity stopwatch. Make sure that you're at approximately 7 seconds here. It's going to be 0 at 7 seconds, but at 9, I'm going to crank it up to 100. So now this is what our project looks like, our comp. Slowly fades in. We'll try that one more time. Here we go. There we go. And if you want to give it a little subtle effect, this is pretty cool. This is what a lot of people do, very trendy. We're going to hit scale right here. So at 7 seconds, it's going to be scaled at that. And then by here, all we're going to do is we're going to pull this slider very, very slowly to make it just a little bit bigger. So now watch what happens. Okay. And the last thing that we're going to do is there's a lot of dead space at the end here. What we're going to do is at about 10 seconds, let's make it 12. At 12 seconds, we're going to end this comp. How do we do that? Well, over here, there's 2 blue little polar sliders right here. I'm going to grab the one, this bigger gray one, and I'm going to pull it all the way to 12 seconds. And then I'm going to right click right here on this gray, and I'm going to go trim comp to work area. So it's going to be 12 seconds. It's only 12 seconds now. Let's have a look at our comp. And don't worry about any sounds or any music or anything. We can add that a little bit later on. Good. So that is our comp right there. So what we want to do now is we want to go ahead and save, file save as, file save as. We want to map to our container. So remember, if you can't see the desktop, make sure you click here. You're going to go to desktop. We're going to map to our containing folder, which is in your master folder. It's in 3 After Effects, and it's called Moon Across the Sky. Okay, we'll double click there. And what we want to do is call this normal naming conventions. Just place VP20s S1 2020 Moon Across the Sky. That's what the project is called. Okay, so that is our AEP file, which this means our After Effects project file. So if we save this, that's the file that if we double click, it will open up After Effects. But what we want to do now is export this. Here's how we export it. File, export, add to render queue. Okay, so we want to squash all these layers down into an MP4 or a .mov. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go add to render queue. At the bottom, you're going to see these two blue things that show up here after you click that. One is lossless. What we definitely want to do is we want to click the blue word, lossless. And we want to change the format to QuickTime. So make sure it's on QuickTime. Once it's on QuickTime, don't worry about any of this. We just hit OK. And the next thing that we want to do is we want to name the export and where we're going to put it in the containing folder. And we know where that is because we just did it. So we're going to go to Desktop. Just place or your master folder. We're going to go into 3 After Effects, Moon Across the Sky, and we're going to change comp1.mov to your name, VP20s S1 2020, and Moon Across the Sky. And if you look, it's an MOV, so it's not going to overwrite your other file, even though it's named the exact same way. The extension is different. We're going to save. It's not saved yet. What we have to do, the last thing is we have to go way over to the right here, and we're going to hit render. So depending how complicated your composition is, if there was a whole bunch of layers, this is definitely going to go a lot slower. But because it's only 2 layers, this export is going rather quickly. Okay, so it's about halfway done, and about another 10 more seconds, you're going to hear a nice sound. If you hear the sound that's coming up, then you have done this export correctly. Okay, so we'll just wait. That's it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just verify that they're in my master folder. I want to go to VP20s. I want to go to After Effects, Moon Across the Sky. And now what I want to do is I want to grab this MOV and this AEP right here. So that's these 2 files. I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to right click. I'm going to copy them. I'm now going to go to the video production alias, into the hand in folder because I'm handing it in. First semester, VP20s, I'll just pick period 2 here. 3 After Effects, and you don't have to do this, but I will. This is called Moon Across the Sky. There we go. So in Moon Across the Sky, it'll be there already for you. All you have to do is right click and paste. There you go. That is your first taste of animation, your first taste of After Effects. You'll be using After Effects a lot this semester, so this is a really nice little project to get you going.